Let's bring in ABC News national security and defense analyst Mick Mulroy for more. Mick, what more can you tell us about this prison and why it's so important?
So, Diane, as was just reported, this is a absolutely notorious prison where political prisoners were kept for decades, and some with absolutely no contact with the outside world. So these families are trying to get to them. There's many issues with getting to some of the subterranean levels. Apparently, there's about 5 floors underground, and a lot of these doors have been locked. So they're trying to get groups in there, like the White Helmets, that have the ability to breach walls to get these individuals out. But this is obviously a huge concern to the families and a major effort of the Syrians right now to try to get these people recovered before their time runs out.
Now, a State Department spokesperson says the U.S. wants to engage with Syrian rebel leaders despite HTS being designated a terrorist group. So how sensitive is this situation, and how do you expect the U.S. to handle it?
Well, generally speaking, it's very difficult for us to have normal diplomatic channels with a terrorist organization. So sometimes the intelligence services fill that role. We can see that when it comes to negotiation with Hamas in Gaza. So that's one way to do it. Another way to do it is to keep looking at whether these groups should be designated terrorists anymore. They've obviously tried to get away from the jihadist component, but we really have to see actions more than words. And I think that's something the State Department will continue to assess going forward.
Now, the watchdog group Syrian Observatory for Human Rights reports Israel has launched more than 300 airstrikes on Syria since the rebels seized power. The IDF says they're preventing strategic weapons and territory from falling into the wrong hands. What do you make of that, and how do you see that part of this playing out?
Well, that's not just a concern of Israel. This idea that they don't really understand who is in control of Syria right now, which means who is in control of these significant weapon systems, to include chemical weapons and potentially biological weapons. So I think what Israel is trying to do right now is mitigate the threat of them falling into the wrong hands by essentially destroying them. That and trying to create this buffer, which, as the UN pointed out, is against the 1974 agreement. However, that agreement understood that there was 2 sovereign states on both sides of it. And I think that is what the perspective of Israel is. They needed to protect themselves. This will change as soon as there is a transition to a recognized government.
All right, ABC News national security and defense analyst Mick Mulroy, thank you.